Collagenase. So collagenase, it is a proteolytic enzyme which breaks down the collagen. So we know that what is the function of collagen. Collagen constitutes an integral part of connective tissues of muscles and other body organs like tendons, and hence collagenase is an invasive factor because it can break down the collagen and may play a part in the pathogenesis of gas gangrene caused by Clostridium perfringens and certain worms. So this Clostridium perfringens we already discussed, it is able to produce the lecithinase as well as it is also able to produce the collagenase, and it can result into the infection called as gas gangrene. So here is the diagram explaining the function of the collagenase enzyme. So here we can see there is a blood vessel with a single layer of endothelial cells surrounding the lumen and dense connective tissues. So here it is shown the dense connective tissues. So collagenase produced by Clostridium perfringens degrades the collagen between the endothelial cells. So here we can see that there is a gap. There is a gap between the endothelial cells, and this allows the bacteria to enter the bloodstream. So here we can see this bacteria, small dots are there, they are nothing but the bacteria. After breaking the collagen, they can enter within the bloodstream. So this is the very much important enzyme for some pathogen to establish the infection and to become a successful invader. And the next enzyme is streptodornase. It is also called as deoxyribonuclease, that is DNase. So this enzyme depolymerizes the deoxyribonucleic acid, that is DNA. It liquefies purulent, that is pus exudate, and viscous material containing the DNA. Remember that within the host tissues, within the host cells, there are also some host material that is released after the death of the tissues, and this material contains the DNA. So this material containing DNA, it can block the movement of the pathogens. So in order to remove this material, the organism produces the deoxyribonuclease or the DNase enzyme. So this enzyme removes or depolymerizes the DNA so that it can further move into the next tissues. For example, Streptococcus pyogenes. This organism is known to produce the DNase enzyme. The next enzyme is mucinase. So this enzyme digests the protective coating on the mucous membranes, and it is a factor in amoebic dysentery. So it is also one of the important enzyme in the invasion. The next enzyme is the keratinase. So as the name suggests, it digests the principal component of the skin and hair called as keratin. This enzyme can be secreted by some fungi that causes the ringworm. Now after invasion, the next step is the evading host defense mechanism. So after successful invasion into the tissues of the host, the next aim of the pathogen is to evade the host defense mechanism. To evade means to protect itself from the immune system or the immune mechanisms of the host. So how the organism protects itself from the host defense mechanism, we will discuss here. So evading host defense mechanism, first thing is evading phagocytosis. We know that the phagocytosis, it is a very important process in the host cells, and it protects the host cell from number of infections. It is the very important and the first step after the pathogen enters inside the host cell. And the phagocytosis, by definition, we know that it is the process of engulfment of foreign particles by phagocytes or macrophages. Here foreign particles will be engulfed and they will be degraded inside the phagocytes. So this protects the host cells from infections. But to be a successful pathogen, for a successful infection, the pathogen must evade the phagocytosis. The pathogen must escape from this process. The many pathogens escape from this process by using some anti-phagocytic factors. By producing some enzymes or by producing some proteins, the pathogen can escape through this process. And these anti-phagocytic factors, the very first factor, most important anti-phagocytic factor is the capsule. We know that the capsule is present in the bacteria. So some pathogens interfere with the activity of phagocytes by making glycocalyx material that forms capsule around their cell walls. In the previous slide, we have already discussed and we have seen the diagram explaining the role of glycocalyx in the biofilm. So some pathogen can produce this glycocalyx that form the capsule around their cell walls. So this property increases the virulence of many bacterial species. So as a result of the formation of capsule, this capsule protects the bacteria from phagocytosis. For example, in case of Streptococcus pneumoniae, it produces large capsule that inhibits the attachment of phagocytes and thus inhibits killing. So due to its specific nature, the phagocytes, they are unable to attach to the capsule. So in order to engulf the pathogen, the phagocytes must attach to the pathogen, but due to the presence of the capsule, they are unable to attach to that pathogen and engulfment not results. So this capsule, it plays a very important role to avoid the phagocytosis. So this Streptococcus pneumoniae is known to produce this capsule. Some strains of these organisms have the capsule while others do not have it. So this presence of capsule helps the organism to spread widely in the system without being phagocytosed. Strains with capsule are referred as virulent, but strains without capsule are referred as avirulent. So this one statement, it is very important and it reflects the importance of capsule in the bacteria. If the capsule is present in a bacterial strain, then many such bacteria, they can be regarded as virulent because they will invade the phagocytosis. They will escape from this phagocytosis process. While those strains who are lacking the capsule, they will be engulfed by the macrophage and through the phagocytosis they will be destroyed. So capsule here acts as a protective barrier against the various antibactericidal components in the serum. So not only phagocytosis, but it also acts as a barrier against the various substances or components present in the serum. For example, antibodies. So it is also anti-bactericidal function. It is also played by this capsule. So almost all the bacteria and fungi that infect the central nervous system, for example, N. meningitis, Haemophilus influenza, and C. neoformans, they produce the capsule in order to be virulent. So in some pathogens, the capsule, it is an important virulence factor like Haemophilus influenza and Cryptococcus neoformans. Now after capsule, another important virulence factor is the cell wall components. Some pathogens, they defend themselves against phagocytosis by producing specialized surface proteins that are present over the cell wall. So cell wall components, they are also another anti-phagocytic factors. For example, in case of S. pyogenes, which causes the strep throat. So strep throat means the inflammation and pain of the throat. So S. pyogen produces a surface proteins called as M protein This M protein helps the bacterium to resist phagocytosis by white blood cells. So like capsule in case of other bacteria, here in case of S. pyogenes, the M protein acts as an anti-phagocytic factor and it prevents the phagocytosis by WBC, that is white blood cell. Other example of cell wall components is the waxy lipid, that is mycolic acid. So we know that it is present in the acid fast bacteria. So this mycolic acids, it makes up the cell wall of the Mycobacterium tuberculosis, and it also increases the virulence by resisting the phagocytosis because this is a complex lipid. We know that when we perform the acid fast staining, it is very difficult for us to penetrate the stain that is we use in the acid fast staining, that is ZNCF, Zell-Nielsen carbonyl function. So that penetration is difficult because of this mycolic acid, and this mycolic acid, it also acts as an important virulence factors that resist the phagocytosis. Now the most important thing is that some pathogens like Mycobacterium tuberculosis, they can even multiply inside the phagocytes. So this is very important thing. That's the information that we know, that is the phagocytosis protects the host cells from pathogen. It is true, but some exceptions are there. Some pathogens are so dangerous that they can, after their engulfment, they can multiply inside the phagocytes. So they execute different mechanisms. So we know that in the phagocytosis, there is a requirement that phagosome cells must fuse with the lysosome. So this fusion of phagosome with lysosome finally destroys the organism. But here these organisms can multiply inside the phagocytes because they block this fusion of phagosome with the lysosome. Then after evading phagocytosis, the next thing that we will discuss is the evading the immune system. So pathogens have evolved the mechanisms to evade the specific immune defenses. We know that after the entry of pathogen into the host cell will produce some immune mechanisms to eliminate the pathogen from the body. But to be a successful pathogen, the pathogen must evade these immune defenses. And they evade these immune defenses by producing some virulence factors, by producing some enzymes, exoenzymes. So we will discuss such enzymes. For example, coagulase. So this coagulase enzyme, it protects the pathogen in two ways. First, by forming the fibrin barriers around the staphylococci and thus prevents the phagocytosis. Second, by inactivating bactericidal substances present in normal blood serums. So clotting of plasma is accelerated by this coagulase enzyme, and this coagulase test, it is of value as means of distinguishing to differentiate between pathogenic and non-pathogenic strain of staphylococci. So here the diagram explaining the function of the coagulase. So this enzyme triggers the blood plasma clotting, and this clotting protects the bacteria from immune systems. So here we can see that the pathogen is there which produces the coagulase enzyme, and here there is a formation of blood clots. So now these blood clots will give protection to the staphylococci. The barrier around the staphylococci will be formed, and due to the presence of these blood clots around staphylococci, it will prevent the phagocytosis. Now next is damage to the host. Sorry, one minute. After coagulase, the next enzyme that can be produced by bacteria to evade the immune system is IgA protease. So we know that the immunoglobulins or antibodies that are produced within the host cells against the antigens. So there are several types of immunoglobulins: immunoglobulin G, immunoglobulin M, immunoglobulin A, immunoglobulin D, and immunoglobulin E. And also there are several subtypes of such immunoglobulins. So some pathogens defend themselves by attacking antibodies. We know that the antibodies that are produced against the antigen, but some pathogens they have evolved themselves so that they can produce the enzymes that attacks the antibodies, and these enzymes are called as antibody destroying enzymes. So IgA proteases means the proteases that can attack or that can destroy the immunoglobulin A. They are called as immunoglobulin A proteases. So immunoglobulin A antibodies, they form a paste on epithelial surfaces. So this is very important. Our epithelial surfaces, they are one of the portal of entry for the microorganism, for the pathogen, and these epithelial surfaces they are protected by the host cell by forming the paste of immunoglobulin A antibodies around the epithelial surfaces. But some microorganism can evade these epithelial surfaces also by producing the immunoglobulin A proteases enzyme. For example, Neisseria gonorrhea, Neisseria meningitidis, and other pathogens that infect the central nervous system, they produce the immunoglobulin A proteases. So this is one of the important enzymes as it is directly attacking the immunoglobulin A. The next way to evade the immune system is to undergo the process of antigenic variation. So pathogens they can alter their surface antigens by a process called as antigenic variation. Thus, by the time the body mounts an immune response against a pathogen by producing antibodies, the pathogen has already undergone through the alteration of its antigen, and now it is unaffected by the antibodies. We know that the antibodies they are very specific, they are produced against a specific antigen. So after production of antibody, if the organism is undergoing through the process of antigenic variation, then such antibodies now no longer be used against that pathogens. So some microbes they can activate the alternate genes. We know that there are genes that are present for the every character. So for the antigens there are also some several genes they are present. So some genes they are present in multiple copies. So some microbes they can activate the alternate genes present on the bacteria, and it can result in an antigenic variation or antigenic change. For example, influenza virus, we know that this influenza virus is known for its ability to undergo a mutation. It continuously undergoes through a process of mutation due to this antigenic variation, and this is the reason why there is no effective vaccine is developed against this influenza virus, because it undergoes continuously undergoes through this antigenic variation. Neisseria gonorrhea, trypanosoma, and AIDS viruses, they also undergoes through this antigenic variation. So